Hey, so today I want to talk about something, basically, just, another stupid topic, just blah, 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 blah. I don't know why I do this with the intros every time, but I want to talk about cartoons. Cartoons of all generations, all times, all whatever the fuck, because there's so many goddamn cartoons, and cartoons are kind of just like constantly on a downward spiral, and it's never really the people making the cartoons' fault as much as just, well, actually, it is kind of the people who's made their fault. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Anyway, like cartoons have been around for fucking ever, with like Steamboat Willie, who was eventually called like a fucking Mickey Mouse. There's so many fucking like animated movies from the past. Like, wasn't like Snow White from like the fucking 30s or something? Like, I don't know. But like cartoons have been a big thing. Disney has been like one of the biggest like cartoon, what would the word be? Conglomerate? Would that be the right word? I don't know. I just use big words and hope that it's right and that I sound smart, but I'm actually stupid. But cartoons, they've been doing shit for years, and for the longest time cartoons were always aimed at kids, right? Like cartoons were always kids related. It was always just like kids this, kids that. The kids loved the little cute little creatures on the screen, the little drawn on creatures, teehee. And then there was like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is a movie that like merged like cartoon with like real live action. And it was more towards adults, right? But I don't know, I don't think it was like the first adult thing, because I think like the first adult thing was like some weird cartoon about a cat, but the cat was like super horny all the time. Like there was like a really old cartoon about like a really horny cat, and that was like the whole point of the show or the movie. I don't know what it was. But I think that was like one of the original like adult cartoons type stuff. There was probably one way before that. Like there was probably like a cartoon porn thing from like a long time ago. But cartoons were for the longest time just always geared towards kids. It was just kids, kids, kids. And then like one of like the bigger cartoon shows that came around that like kind of went more towards adults was The Simpsons, which came out in like what, the 80s or something, and is still going to this day, even though I think most people just kind of wish it would be put to rest. Kind of like Family Guy, just overstayed its welcome and just kind of is going downhill. But cartoons, eventually blended to adults, teenagers, and kids alike, just, random shit. Also, I don't know if South Park is considered a cartoon because it's not exactly drawn. It's like paper, right? I don't know if that counts as a cartoon or not. I assume South Park is considered a cartoon, but I don't know. But that's another adult cartoon, if it is a cartoon at all. I don't know. But The Simpsons came along, made adult content. Like The Simpsons wasn't like super adult, right? Like The Simpsons, if anything, is like suitable for like a fucking 10-year-old or something, because like they rarely swear, and most of the jokes are just like "eat my butthole," and that's about like the biggest joke the Simpsons have ever made. Like the most like adult rated thing the Simpsons has ever done is when they had the fucking movie that came out in like what, 2008 or something. They showed Bart's dick. Like that was probably the most adult thing the Simpsons had ever done. But I didn't really like the Simpsons movie, and I didn't really like the Simpsons. And the Simpsons itself kind of fell into this trap that all adult cartoons seem to fall into nowadays, which is something I'm going to get to. But after The Simpsons, I don't really know if there was anything else. I know King of the Hill came out in 97, I believe. 98, 97, I don't know. Or it might have even been before or after that, I don't know. But, that was like an adult show that, a lot like The Simpsons, was not vulgar. It wasn't too vulgar. It wasn't over the top. It was just kind of suitable for, probably like some kids. It wasn't like a horrible thing, right? And then came Family Guy. Yeah, no, I think South Park, didn't South Park come before Family Guy actually? I don't know, but South Park, Family Guy, those were shows that showed up, and they aimed to be adult oriented while also being over the top for adults, like trying to like weed the kids out and be like, hey, this is not for kids. You shouldn't watch. Even though I think Family Guy was like TV-14 or something like that. But at the same time, parents don't listen to that half the time. Some parents like don't let their kids watch like adult cartoons until they're literally like 18, and some parents just don't give a shit what their kids watch, and that's kind of what mine was. I was watching South Park when it came, or did I watch it when it came out? I don't know when the fuck South Park came out, but I did watch the first season like long ass time ago when I was a kid. And, it's probably one of the reasons I like offensive humor because of South Park. And originally, didn't really like Family Guy. I didn't like the original Family Guy. I thought Family Guy was just kind of boring, right? It was just kind of like, holy freaking crap, Lois. And that was just every episode, just Lois, Lois, Lois. Remember the time? Remember the time? Remember the time? Remember the time I met that celebrity that is relevant to this year? Hey Lois, remember the time that I went to this location that was relevant during to the time of this episode? Hey Lois, remember the time? Like that was like every episode back then, and that's still what the show fucking is. Because back then it was just like, remember the time I met Prince? Remember the time I don't know, did something relating to the 2000s? Like that's all. Like, see, I can't come off this shit off the fly. Like it's always like, remember the time I met celebrity from the time. Remember the time I shit in Snoop Dogg's weed or something. It was always just something fucking stupid, something to the time, and I never found it funny. And it could be because maybe I didn't get it. Like it was always just like celebrities I didn't know, or things I didn't know, or just time period related shit I didn't get, right? But the problem with Family Guy is Family Guy changed, but not good. Like the cutaways were still the same. It was always just now the episodes are like, remember the time I met Ed Sheeran? Remember the time I met current day celebrity Ryan Reynolds? I get, well, Ryan Reynolds was in like an episode where he was like a like seemingly gay neighbor who wanted to fuck Peter or something like that. I don't know. There's a weird episode like that. But like adult cartoons, like they were boring. Like the starts of a lot of them were just so boring. Because like the first seasons would always be like playing it safe, trying not to piss anyone off, trying not to go too far, trying to just be like, here's adult humor, but it's mild, right? It's mild. Oh, they're having like sex trouble in their life. Oh, Peter can't get it up. Oh, Teehee, he needs to take Viagra. Or I don't think that was actually an episode. I think that was an episode, but probably like later. But like they always try to be like very low with like the humor. Like back then, it's like, oh, don't say anything too vulgar. Don't push any weird things. Just be like, hey, ooh, look, adult problems, and that's about it. And then the teenage characters are like, oh, teenage problems. But then the shows grow, right? And like Family Guy grew, South Park grew, The Simpsons grew, and American Dad showed up, The Cleveland Show showed up. There were other shows as well. But there were also kids' cartoons, right? Like I loved Courage the Cowardly Dog. That was like one of my favorite cartoons growing up. I also really enjoyed Ed, Edd n Eddy. Ed, Edd n Eddy was also one of my favorites. And as much as I know, like a lot of people would probably get mad if you said you enjoyed it, I loved Johnny Bravo. I love Johnny Bravo. Because, like, I'm pretty sure nowadays if you bring up Johnny Bravo, people will be like, ew, that's a show about a guy basically sexually harassing women. And yeah, but he also gets beat up for it, and that's kind of the joke. The joke is that he's a creep who gets beat up. That's the humor. The humor is that he gets his comeuppance, basically. But I used to love these cartoons, right? And I remember when the Ed, Edd n Eddy movie came out, I was so fucking excited. And they wrapped up that show so perfectly that if I swear to God, if Cartoon Network tries to revamp Ed, Edd n Eddy, they won't do good, and I will actually lose my fucking shit. If they try to revamp Ed, Edd n Eddy with like some new art style like Teen Titans Go, and they try to make it like quirky, relatable humor, I'm going to flip my shit. Ed, Edd n Eddy ended perfectly. It was a great show, and it deserves to rest. Do not fucking touch it. But they will. They probably will. Speaking of Teen Titans, I used to love Teen Titans. I loved Teen Titans. Teen Titans was so goddamn good. And then when I heard about Teen Titans Go, I was excited because I was like, oh my god, Teen Titans is back. Teen Titans is back. And then I saw it and I was like, oh, fuck. Like, god damn it. I should have known. And now every Teen Titans Go episode is just about shaking their ass and farting. That's literally it. And they say ass every once in a while because I don't know. But I don't know. Not to mention Cartoon Network's like only show is Teen Titans Go. Like I remember I watched something that was like showing off like the schedule for Cartoon Network in America, and it's like all Teen Titans Go. And the thing is, I was actually still watching some cartoons like on Cartoon Network. I didn't really care for Adventure Time. Okay, I understand why people liked it, but I just didn't really care for it. But there were some interesting shows. There was Victor and Valentino, which was about two boys in Mexico, usually dealing with like all sorts of like myths and legends. And I thought it was a good show. There was Clarence, and I thought Clarence was pretty good. I thought Clarence was entertaining. But mostly I watched like SpongeBob and Fairly Odd Parents, right? Which, ugh. Once Steven Hillenburg died, like Nickelodeon immediately went full greed and did everything that he said he did not want. Like Steven Hillenburg literally said, I do not want spin-offs of SpongeBob. I do not want you to change my property in any way. And they immediately went against his wishes the second he died. And then we have Fairly Odd Parents, made by Butch Hartman, who is known for scamming people and being kind of psychotic with his religion. Like, hey man, if you believe in God, that's fine. Like I don't rail on people for their religion. I think if you're a religious person, that's fine. But the way he went about it was absolutely fucking psychotic. Like the dude was like the exact type of religious person that people make fun of. Those like crazy religious people. And Butch Hartman is also a fucking scammer, basically. And Fairly Odd, and everyone likes to say that Fairly Odd Parents went down when Poof was added to the main cast. Like people are like, oh, when Poof was added, that's when the show went down. I still don't think that's true. I was okay with the Poof one. I think it's when Sparky was introduced. I think when Sparky got introduced to Fairly Odd Parents, that was the part where the show started going down. And then they added Chloe, and the animation somehow got worse on the show. Like it was almost like there was like nothing drawn in the show. Like it was almost like they drew like a still image, and then they like went into like Photoshop or something, and then they just like stretched the character's image like back and forth to like show that they're moving. But it was like it felt like it just wasn't animated all of a sudden, and it was sad because I loved those two shows. The only other thing I watched on Nickelodeon was George Lopez, but that's not really a cartoon. I also used to love Scooby Doo, and I remember there was like a Mystery Incorporated, which was like a more, I think, like teenager oriented Scooby Doo that was like a lot more serious, and I thought it was really fucking good. And then there was a Scooby Doo after that where it got way too cartoony. It like went Teen Titans Go, but the thing is, as much as I hated that version of Scooby Doo, I think that that's a million times better than Velma. But see, I think everyone knew what this was leading up to, right? Me talking about cartoons, everyone knew it was leading up to Velma, didn't they? Everyone knew it was going to lead to me talking about Velma. I haven't watched Velma, but I've seen so much shit on it that it looks atrocious. And this show embodies what I wanted to talk about. And that is adult cartoons falling into this shitty trap every time. This shitty trap of main character becoming unlikable to the point where they're irredeemable, but also making no effort to redeem them, but also not making them funny or interesting. Now, for example, old Simpsons, old Family Guy, Peter and Homer, they were characters that they were idiots, they were dumb, but they were endearing. They had personalities that could be redeemed. They learned, they changed, and the same could be said for like Stan and American Dad, right? I like American Dad. I still like American Dad. But the problem with like Peter and Homer was that they went from just like, oh, lovable goofball dads to full-fledged psychotic unlikable dickbags where they don't do anything. They don't learn their lesson. They constantly do stupid shit and are just constantly being assholes. And then by the end of the episode, instead of like there being a lesson where they're like, oh shit, I guess I shouldn't do this thing, they're like, I should do it more. And that's what adult cartoons are now. With also like this, like, the realization now is like, cartoons nowadays, like, you gotta realize there's people behind these shows with like their own opinions. And I've seen like some newer Family Guy episodes, and Seth MacFarlane has like tried to make like these serious episodes, like the Bank Vault episode, which that episode is fucking awful. But he also tries to do like political humor, right? But it's obvious that like he has his own political side, and that's fine. But I think when it comes to entertainment, if you're gonna make political humor, you can't pick a side because all you're gonna do is alienate part of your audience while, not really appealing to the other side because the other side isn't gonna care at the end of the day. All you're gonna do is kind of anger the other side. Like, I like political humor, but it's more of just like when there's no statement being made, right? Because to them, it was to like, in like Seth MacFarlane's case, it was always like, oh, anytime they portray like a right wing politician, it was they're stupid, they're fat, they're gross, they're idiotic, they're probably predators. And then with like the leftist ones, it's just that they're very happy and kind of nice. And that's about it. And I don't care what his political side is, but like at the end of the day, if you're going to make political humor, you can't just rely on like just the stereotypical internet humor where it's just like, ha ha, look at insert political person I don't like. He is the embodiment of insert joke I saw on the internet like a month ago. Because every like political humor is just so not funny when it's done by like big shows. Like political humor is only funny when it's done on the internet sometimes, and that's just when it's made by people who could give less a shit about the political shit. Because I've seen so many things of like people like showing videos of Trump going bing bing bong or saying Obama, and then a video of Biden screaming soda or saying hello, and those don't have like a message. It's just showing like presidents doing funny things and just being like, hey, that's funny because he did the thing that's funny. It's not like being like, God, look at this asshole, he just said this thing, what a fucking freak, vote for this side. And that's kind of what like Family Guy does now, where it's just like constant, just like Seth MacFarlane ham-fisting all of his interests into the show. It's no longer based around entertainment as much as it is feeding his ego. And as for Simpsons, it's just nothing. Like the show's nothing. It's trying so hard to like capitalize on like popular things and failing because no one cares. It's an old show trying to keep up with modern times and failing miserably. But that all ties into what I'm talking about with Velma, about main characters being so fucking unlikable that you can't root for them, nor do you care about them. Not to mention, from what I've seen from Velma, the character is not funny. The character's an asshole. She's on a hair trigger with her anger and seems to hate white people. So that doesn't really make me think like, hey, this is a good character. All I think is, wow, this is a kind of a piece of shit character. Like, and all the adult cartoons, they do it because they think that's relatable, right? Adults are just miserable people that hate everyone. We're all assholes, but we have likes and dislikes. We have people we like and don't like. But today's cartoons for adults are so ass because all of them try to do the same thing, and that's unlikable main character, shitty cast of characters, and no personality. Humor, and the humor is always tailored to the specific person who wrote the damn show. Like, the whole point of entertaining people is to entertain everyone. You do not pick and choose who you entertain. You do not say, I want to entertain this race. I want to entertain this religious view. I want to entertain this political side. No, your job when entertaining is to entertain everyone. Race humor is fine. There's nothing wrong with like making fun of like race stuff because race jokes are funny. But if your idea of a race joke, like from what I've seen from Velma, is just like, ew, you're white, and then that's the joke. The joke is ew, white person. Like, that's not a joke. That's just being an asshole for no reason. But Velma is an example of like a fucking awful show, and people are trying to like come up with like a conspiracy, like they made it bad on purpose, and no, they didn't. They didn't. They put their whole ass into that. People really try to like defend the show by being like, you just don't understand. You have to have a high IQ to understand Velma. But no, the show was bad because it was written by a bunch of fucking out of touch idiots. And that's it. It was not made bad on purpose. No one buys that. Also, speaking of high IQ, Rick and Morty. I fucking hate Rick and Morty. Like, that's just me going off on a tangent. But Rick and Morty has the same thing. An unlikable douchebag main character. Which even in like season 1 of Rick and Morty, you can say like, oh, Rick had some redeeming qualities. And even Morty did. But now they're just unlikable. And also, it doesn't help that Justin Roiland is now currently being investigated for talking to minors as well as on trial for domestic abuse. So, but that's completely different. This is me separating the art from the artist type thing. Rick and Morty, I just don't think it's funny. I don't like it. I've never liked Rick and Morty. When I first watched the first season, I was like, this is okay. And then I rewatched it and I was like, why did I think this is okay? Because I just didn't think it was funny. I honestly despise Rick and Morty now. And like I said, the characters are the same thing. Always angry, always assholes, no change. And kids' cartoons nowadays, because I've been talking about adult cartoons, but kids' cartoons are just, I don't know. It's just the same. It's trying to be like, hey, kids, look at us. We're dabbing, we're whipping, we're stanky legging, we're hitting the gritty for Cartoon Network. We're look at us. Oh, look, twerking. Haha, fart joke. Do you want another fart joke? Haha, dab on them, dab on them. Fart joke, dab on them. Stanky leg. Like that's what kids cartoons are now. And when I watched like things like Clarence and Victor and Valentino, it felt so nice to watch something that wasn't just that. Like Clarence had fart jokes, but they weren't like so like obnoxious that it was like ugh. Like I thought Clarence was actually kind of funny. I actually liked Clarence, and Victor and Valentino wasn't really funny, but it was a really good show regardless. And those shows I believe are both canceled to make space for Teen Titans Go, which is kind of what HBO Max did for Velma, where they got rid of their shows just for Velma. It's all about like, oh, we know what our cash cow is and we're going to get rid of everything else. But the thing with Velma is they didn't know it was going to be their cash cow. They just put everything into it so that they could hoist it up and be like, hey, look at this show. And no one liked it. I'm sure someone liked it. And if you liked it, whatever, that's fine. Like, I'm not going to judge people for liking something that the majority of people hate because that's fine. We all have our interests. But it's just, I don't know. Cartoons nowadays just suck. Like the humor for kids, like they treat kids like they have the attention span of like a fucking moose or something. Like that they just kind of look at something and they're just like, if I don't see a fart or if I don't see them whipping, I'm gonna be so mad. I'm gonna. Also, I keep saying like whipping and like stanky leg as if those are still dance moves people do. I'm out of touch. I'm out of time, and I don't remember the rest of the lyrics. But kid shows like treat kids like they're fucking morons, which I get it. I make jokes where I'm like, kids are so stupid, but they're not. They're really not. Kids are not as dumb as people like to make it out. Kids are a lot smarter than you think. And some kids don't want to watch a show where it's just nothing but fucking farting and twerking. And adults don't want to watch a show where they're like, hey, the main character's just like you guys, miserable and angry all the time. And also possibly a bigot and possibly a pedophile and possibly a bunch of bad words. And it's just like, god damn, bro. Like, these shows really want to like appeal to people, but they don't want to tell a story. That's the problem. Cartoons don't want to tell a story or tell jokes. They just want to relate. They want to be like, hey, are you relating? Look, the character just hit a dab. Oh my god, this character just insulted someone who was already having a bad day because they're just a spiteful asshole. Isn't that relatable, adults? Like, it's like, I don't know. I hate cartoons now, and I don't watch TV really. Like, I don't watch TV. Actually, I don't watch TV at all. Like, we got rid of our direct TV a long time ago. I watch YouTube videos and play games. That's it. Like, I literally don't watch anything other than YouTube videos. But I don't know, cartoons now suck. And I know people are going to be like, well, you can find good ones if you look. And yeah, you can. But I'm talking about like the bigger ones. I'm talking about these big ones that are plastered everywhere. They just suck. And I'm so tired of going on Twitter and like every time a new cartoon comes out, just seeing like this like warfare over a cartoon. Because people on Twitter like to make things political, social, blah, blah, big words, buzzwords. And they like to fight both the left and the right, and even people who aren't political like to fight about shit, and they all just get into like a big fucking tizzy over, oh, this show is gonna suck, this show's gonna be good, this show's gonna do this show's gonna do that, and they don't even wait for the show. And then when the show comes out, sometimes it gets review bombed unfairly, sometimes it's fair, sometimes the show gets ratings that's good, but it doesn't deserve it, and sometimes it does, and critics shit on things that others enjoy, and critics like things that others hate, and it's just a shit show. So cartoons are some of the most divisive bullshit you'll ever fucking see on the internet. And there will probably never be a cartoon that I'll be excited to see. Like the last thing I ever watched so far was Breaking Bad, and that was not a cartoon. And that was like 5 months ago. I just don't watch it. But anyway, yeah, this is a really long. I think this might be my longest video. Holy shit. Anyway, cartoons now suck. Yada yada. Old man yells at clouds moment. Blah blah blah. But everyone has their opinions. People might like the cartoons now, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. And I also don't like most animated movies anyway. I don't like Disney. I don't like Pixar. I don't like any of that shit. So, yeah, I don't know. Cartoons are kind of just going down. So, yeah, whatever.